Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah. Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah.
Ina alhamdulillah, wa salat, wa salam Allah, wa rasulullah. Welcome to another session of our Hadith class. And we are studying the Hadiths taken that's compiled in the book entitled The Prophetic Parables. And these are beautiful parables in which the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to illustrate certain things to us, to help us to better understand certain things that will help us to become better, stronger, greater Muslims. And this book can be purchased by going to Muhammad Saeed Atli's website. It's compiled by him. Go to www.atlionline.com and you will find this book for only $5. Please make sure that everyone purchases a copy of this book. And again, this is the link to the website, www.atlionline.com. The book is entitled The Prophetic Parables. Okay, and today's hadith deals with whims and desires. It deals with a person's whims and desires. And let's take a look at the hadith that's up for discussion tonight. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, he tells us that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the parable of the heart is like that of a feather that is blown about in the wind of the desert. The wind blows it to the right, it blows it to the left. The feather constantly changes direction. So this is a wonderful parable or comparison that our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is using for the heart. He's comparing the heart to that of a feather. The feather that's being blown by the wind, it never stays on the same course. The wind will blow the feather here and the feather there, never knowing where it's going to land. Well, that's the same way that the human heart works. So what do we learn from this? Well, just like that feather, the human heart is very fragile. It's very fragile. And it will give in to its desires if you allow it. And that's why as believing Muslims, we have to constantly, stay in control of our heart, to safeguard it, to protect it. That's why I'm teaching you guys about the jinn, because we all have a jinn assigned to us, and he lives in our heart. And he knows our strengths. He knows our weaknesses. He knows our whims. He knows our desires, and he will play on that. And we also learn from this beautiful metaphor that the human heart, the Arabic word for heart is qalb. And what does qalb mean in Arabic? It means to constantly turn, to constantly change directions. And that's how the heart is. 1 minute we love, the next minute we hate. 1 minute we're grieving, the next minute we're happy. 1 minute we're sad, then we're depressed. Then we end up feeling hatred and jealousy. So the human heart is constantly turning, constantly changing. It changes from a good state to a bad state, and from a bad state back to a good state. So we have to be in tune with our hearts. And also we learn from this wonderful hadith that there is no way that any human being can keep his heart steadfast unless Allah helps you. The human heart constantly changes. There is no way that you can keep your heart at one position. Only Allah is the one that can help us, to change our heart. And also we learn from this wonderful hadith that knowledge and remembrance of Allah, I can never enforce this enough, reinforce this enough for you guys. Seeking knowledge of this religion and keeping remembrance of Allah, this is what keeps our hearts strong. This is what keeps our hearts healthy. And this is what defeats, the whims and desires that our shaitan tries to whisper to us. And finally, we learn from this hadith that a sincere heart, the only key to salvation is for us to have a heart that is strong and sincere. So what a wonderful, wonderful metaphor. What a wonderful, wonderful parable that the prophet gave us. The human heart is like a feather that is being blown by the wind. That feather, it changes its direction. It never stays steadfast on the same path. It never stays steadfast following the same direction, but the wind will blow it to the right, blow it to the left, blow it up, blow it down. So it's constantly changing directions. We have to learn to call upon Allah and ask Allah to keep us steadfast in this deen. We have to call upon Allah and beg that He keep us upon Siratul Mustaqim. So now that I've explained this hadith and its meaning, what do you guys think about it? How does it impact you in your personal life? Go ahead. Who would like to go ahead?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
How it impacts me is put this truth that Allah has told me in my heart. Put it in there. And it ain't nothing. It's going to take it out. That last statement, something or whatever, I can't remember. Because, that last statement and that statement before the last statement is what put it in my heart. Know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
Mm-hmm. And ask Allah to keep us steadfast and firm upon that truth, because the truth will waver. The truth will become watered down. The truth will appear to be falsehood because the heart is changing. Allah is the one that keeps us upon a straight path. Allah is the only way that we as human beings can keep our heart steadfast. So that's why, like she said, it's important. It's important for us to know the truth, seek knowledge of our religion so we can know the truth. And we have to constantly call upon Allah and ask Him to keep that truth alive in our heart. Don't let us fall victim to our insecurities or fall victim to our desires or our whims, like so many people do. And we live in a dream. We live in a world that's devoid of reality. Yes, good job, Sister Amina Fresno. Anyone else would like to share? Go ahead, Sister Sabrina.
Go
ahead, Sabrina.
Go ahead, Sabrina.
Okay. I find this story, this hadith, I find it amazing. For me, it was amazing. That's how it impacted me, because it's when you spoke of the feather going up and going down and going across and then going the other way. And then, it just really amazed me, because it made me think of how much that related to us as human beings. And that it's only Allah can keep us steady on this journey like a feather, going up and down and around. And I can't wait for this book to arrive. I can't wait, because I would love to read it again, to hear it again.
Yeah, guys, that's how faith is too. Remember, the prophet also said faith. Where does faith? Faith is in your heart, and the heart is constantly changing. It's like a pot of boiling water. That's another hadith. The prophet said the heart is like a pot of boiling water. It's constantly changing, going from hot to cold. You know, our iman is that way. It grows, it weakens. You know, faith never stays the same. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. You know, sometimes it disappears completely. You know, it's constantly changing because it lies in the heart, and the heart is forever turning. You know, so this is something that we really ponder what the prophet is saying here. My God, it's mind boggling. It really is. Yes, go ahead, Sister Anissa.
SubhanAllah. This was very, very powerful. And it's like during my lifetime, I would always think, you got it together. You got this, girl. You got it together. But since we've been covering the topic of the jinn, I'm learning so much about the jinn that I did not know. And just driving in my car today, my heart began to think of things that I wouldn't even think about. And if I didn't have Allah to say, I would have enjoyed all that stuff that was popping up in my head as I was driving 2 or 3 miles away from home. And I'm saying, alhamdulillah, I'm glad to learn that I don't have it all together. Without Allah, I don't have it together. The jinn can just do their thing, throw their little thoughts on me, and I didn't even realize that those things were coming in and where it was coming from. I thought I was being entertaining myself. No, the jinn's entertaining me, and I have to stop them from entertaining me by seeking refuge in Allah, to not let the crazy stuff comes in. The crazy stuff comes in. I talked to my cousin today for 3 whole hours. That didn't make sense. To talk to a person 3 whole hours, and she's not a Muslim. And we got the same situations going on, weak knees. She's filling me in with the family about, look at the weak knees in our family. And then we got some other disease in the white folk side of our family that the brown skinned people have inherited. And it's like, just talking to her, I'm thinking, wow, this stuff I didn't know. But if I wasn't in this class, I would not have been able to protect myself against the things that she was saying to me. So this was a very powerful hadith, and I'm so happy to realize that I'm going through stuff, and I'm going to go through stuff, and it's going to be a test from Allah to me. But this test on me, these classes is helping me to be even more stronger, because I am basically by myself. I'm on my own down here. As a Muslim, I'm the only one on my own, and I have to fight all the stuff that's coming into my thought processes, as my other family is in Bangladesh and in New York. So alhamdulillah, thank you for this session, ladies. Very good.
Yeah,
and I got my book yesterday.
Oh, good. And
this is what we another book too.
Yeah, he always
he sent another book.
Yeah, he
says, "Ya Allah, pardon me."
Yeah,
that's powerful too. SubhanAllah.
That's a book of supplications. That's a good
one. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And guys, that's what we were talking about, you know, about the jinn. You know, why is it that the prophet said one of the greatest weapons that we have in our battle against our personal jinn and Iblis is to be conscious, to be aware, and be conscious and cautious in our dealings, you know, to know your strengths, to know your weaknesses. Also to know Shaitan's strengths and to know his weaknesses, to know how he operates, to be watchful of yourself, mindful of your actions and the choices that you make, you know, and be cautious when you do make choices. Be cautious when you do decide to take on certain actions in certain situations. You know, that becomes one of the greatest weapons in our battle against Shaitan. You know, and like she said, but how many of us are actually watchful, conscious, and cautious, you know, of ourselves? You know, we have to evaluate ourselves. We have to get to know ourselves. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this is what he emphasized with the companions: knowing yourself, knowing your strengths, your weaknesses. What are your desires? Are your desires in sync with Allah's laws, or are they in contradiction to them? If they are in contradiction to Allah's laws and in contradiction to Allah's rules, then you need to redefine yourself. And then you need to change the condition of yourself and make your desires become in sync with the laws. That's what Islam is all about, changing ourselves to something better. Just like that feather, the heart is forever turning, forever turning, forever turning, going one way, then another, then another. The more knowledge we have of Allah, the more understanding that we gain of our purpose and our mission here in life, you know, the heart will take on a stronger path. And that path will be a straight, direct path to paradise. But when we deviate away from the true teachings of Islam, when we deviate away and start going to that innovation and that questionable, doubtful stuff, that's when the heart will lose that straight path and gear to the right, gear to the left. So this is something that we really need to work on with ourselves, asking Allah to keep our hearts in sync with his laws, asking Allah to keep our hearts steadfast, and asking Allah to in turn keep our faith strong, and don't allow our faith to deviate away from that straight path either. All right, I want to thank everybody for joining and participating in this session of our Hadith class. Wonderful book, wonderful Hadiths. Again, go to his website, atleonline.com. The book is only $5. Order your book. He always sends you another free one. Okay, he sent Sister Anisa a book of supplications. I'm telling you guys, order yours today. Okay, we're going to close out. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.